على سيدنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. يقول الله عز وجل: والبدن جعلناها لكم من شعائر الله لكم فيها خير فاذكروا اسم الله عليها صواف إلى آخر الآية. Inshallah, today we will be going through some of the Q&A and questions and answers regarding Qurbani. Inshallah, we try to cover as much as we can. So we continue, inshallah, from the book that I've been covering, Encyclopedia of Qurbani Masail, Encyclopedia of Qurbani Laws. Here we arrived at page 100. Here, Qurbani for the sake of feeding at a walima. Qurbani must be done solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a duty, as a worship, and to uplift the compulsory, obligatory wajib from ourselves. Okay, if a person does it only for the sake of feeding others, only for the sake of what do you call it? Well, if you do it only for the sake of others, in the sense that you don't have the sense, you don't understand that this is a wajib that you have to do, and it's a duty that you have to fulfill to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it will not be valid. Then your Qurbani will not be valid. Okay, so it is very important that your intention is Qurbani and none other than Qurbani. Feeding, a person can feed anytime. Okay, Qurbani is special and it has a specific time. Khair. Next mas'ala we have here is a group of people, they partnered up and they wanted to give a cow, for example, for Qurbani. Now, if some of the partners were not informed that this was part of the Qurbani, then none of the Qurbani will be valid. Meaning, all 7 of the individuals, the Qurbani will not be valid because some of the partners didn't know that this was part of the Qurbani. So this is also important, that every single individual that is giving Qurbani must know that his share is going to that specific animal, to that specific place as well. If, for example, before the animal is slaughtered, there are, let's say, for 7 shares for a cow, one person, he dropped out and he said, I want to give a goat, for example, yeah? In that case, another person popped in and he said, I'll take the 7th place of the cow's share. This is completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Your Qurbani, all the 7 people that have given Qurbani with their names will be valid. And the other person that dropped out, it's fine. He can do his own Qurbani. There is no problem in that. What is the most superior form of partnership? It is when a person is going and purchasing an animal. When he is going and purchasing the animal, at the time of purchasing, he must purchase with the intention that he is buying it for himself, 1 share, and there will be other shares, or for himself, a couple of shares, and for the rest of the shares, there will be other partners. He doesn't need to specify at the time of buying which partners they're going to be, but at the time of purchasing the animal, all he needs to have is there will be other partners. There will be other partners in that animal. In that case, it will be completely permissible to have other shares. If, for example, if a person is a poor person, then in that case, a poor person, when he buys a large animal, at that time he needs to have the intention of having other partners. If he does not, then the whole animal becomes compulsory upon him to give Qurbani specifically. Okay? Specifically. Inshallah. If a person gave his name, reserved the booking, and the Qurbani was done, later on he refuses. He says, no, I didn't give my name, I refuse that this is my Qurbani. This will not be valid. He still will have to pay up and his Qurbani will still be done. Okay? His rejection will not be taken into any consideration. Okay, so here we have another mas'ala where each and every single individual giving Qurbani, their Qurbani must be the same. You know, for example, you've got 7 shares in a cow, all the 7 shares must be exactly the same, and the exact share amount of each portion of the cow must be given. For example, £300 for each share. £300 for each share times 7. Okay, that's the share of the Qurbani. In this case, all partners must give the same amount of money, and each of them are liable for their own specific share. If, for example, one of the partners, he is not able to give £200, and another partner says, okay, I will help you out and I will give you that £50 that you need. So meaning one of the partners, he gave his share £300, £300 is a share. So one of the partners, he is only able to give 250. Another partner said, I'll help you out. So if another partner wants to help him out in that sense, to give this partner's full share, then this is completely also fine. Okay, but generally speaking, all of them must give the same share and the same amount that is required for each share. Okay, if a person wants to help out another person, that's fine. There's no problem in that. Making partners. As we said, if a person is wealthy, meaning he is a sahib nisab, and at the time of purchasing, he purchased with the intention that there's going to be other partners, then it's completely fine in that case. Okay, if a person is poor, then he has to have the intention when purchasing. Okay, he has to have so for example, a rich person where then he's a sahib nisab, and he goes and purchases an animal before the time of Qurbani, and he doesn't have the intention of partnership. He doesn't have the intention that he's going to have other people partnering up in that cow. Then even in that case, ulama say it is still permitted for him to take on other partners, even at the time of Qurbani if he buys it. Even at that time, because he is a sahib nisab, it is only necessary upon him to do 1 share of a large animal or 1 share of a full small animal. Okay, so in that case, the sahib nisab, he has that leeway. He can buy it whenever, even with or without the intention of others sharing in or not. But for the non-wealthy person, meaning the person that is not sahib nisab, if he purchases an animal without the intention of others being partnership later on, okay, later on for Qurbani, then in that case, that poor person will have to give that large animal himself, because he specified that it became compulsory upon him the moment he bought the animal. But if he had the intention to give partnership to others after purchasing, then in that case he can and he may do so. There is no problem in that. We spoke about this, that the husband does not have to give Qurbani on behalf of the wife. It is the wife's duty to give her own share of Qurbani. If the husband wishes to give on her behalf, then he must take her permission and he must give her share, and he will be rewarded greatly. Okay, now we come to the mas'ala of the Qurbani, the slaughtering of a Shia. A Shia, according to the vast majority of muftis, he is a non-Muslim. He is a non-Muslim. He is not considered a person who is a Muslim. Why? Because, for example, the Ithna Ashariya, which are the majority of the Shias, they believe in certain things which goes against the fundamentals of faith. If a person believes in these things, then he is definitely not a Muslim. For example, the author gives on page 103, they believe in the alteration of the Quran. They believe that part of the Quran is missing and the Mahdi will be coming out with that part of the Quran. This is complete blasphemy. This is complete kufr. Okay, if a person believes in that, then he is not a Muslim. He cannot remain a Muslim. They also believe that the 12 Imams are sinless. The Imams are sinless, ma'soom. Ma'soom is only Rasulullah and the Anbiya alayhimus salam. No one else is ma'soom. Every other person is sinful. You know, every other person is sinful according to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, even including the Imams as well. Okay? So they believe their 12 Imams to be sinless. This is against the fundamentals of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Then they believe in another thing called taqiyya. Taqiyya means you can apparently lie to someone whilst having another hidden meaning inside. You know, you mean something inside. So this is lying, of course, is completely prohibited in our Sharia. They also believe in mut'ah, the marriage of mut'ah, the temporary limited time frame marriage. one night marriage, 2 night marriage, 1 week marriage. This is completely haram and forbidden according to all of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and this is an absolute consensus of all the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So, or they also have the belief that some majority of the Sahaba, they turned apostate. They became kuffar after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, except 3 Sahaba. This is also absolute blasphemy. This is completely going against the Quran, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, and many other verses, many other verses of the Quran, or in support of all the Sahaba and in praising all the Sahaba. So if a person has any of those beliefs, which are the common beliefs of the Shias, then a person is not considered a Muslim. If the Shia slaughters an animal, that animal is absolutely haram. It is not allowed to consume from that animal. Also, if a Shia participates in one of the share of the 7 shares of a camel or a cow or an ox or a bull, then in that case also all the 7 shares become batil. All the 7 shares become absolutely invalid. Okay, it will not be valid. So therefore, a person must be careful. Those who are sharing, and those beliefs, those people that are giving the share, their beliefs must be correct as well. Their beliefs must not go contrary to Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay, another mas'ala that we find is a sahib nisab passes away before the time. So for example, as we know, Eid al-Adha is 3 days, okay? 10th, 11th, and 12th. Those are the 3 days that are celebrated of Eid al-Adha. Now, in Eid al-Adha, if a person, for example, he wasn't able to do his Qurbani on the 10th, he wasn't able to do the Qurbani on the 11th, and he passed away on the 12th, before the 12th sunset, okay? Before the 12th of Zulhijjah sunset, meaning Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So for us, it's Tuesday. On Tuesday, the person passed away before sunset. In this case, it is not compulsory upon him to do the Qurbani. He will not be taken liable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will be overlooked and forgiven because the time hasn't ended. Because the time hasn't ended and he passed away. So the obligation goes away. The obligation goes away from him. It was also not compulsory for him to bequest it. But if he does bequest it, then it becomes compulsory upon the heirs to give it from the 1/3. It is necessary. Nor is it necessary. So if, for example, the person passed away on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah before sunset, as we said on Tuesday, then it is also not compulsory upon the heirs to give a Qurbani on his behalf. They don't need to. Okay, they don't need to. Okay. If a sahib nisab, someone who has sahib nisab, and he made a vow that he's going to make Qurbani. So now, now 2 Qurbanis become compulsory upon him. One is due to the vow, and the other one is due to him being sahib nisab when the days of Qurbani come. Okay, so he has to now give 2 Qurbanis. So taking a vow is also very serious, and a person must be very careful when taking a vow. Okay, we say Qurbani is wajib. Why do we say Qurbani is wajib? Because there are many ahadith indicating the severeness and warnings against those who don't do Qurbani. Look at, for example, the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu in Ibn Majah. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من كان له سعة ولم يضحي فلا يقربن مصلانا. رواه Ibn Majah. Here Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, whoever has Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, whoever has the means, he's got the ability, he's got the capacity to give Qurbani, and he doesn't give Qurbani, then he should not come close to our Eidgah. He should not come close to the prayer area of where we pray Eid Salah. So this is a stern warning against those who don't perform Qurbani. This is very dangerous, that he is not part of us, meaning he's not even considered a part of our congregation. He's as if he's like not even a Muslim, But this is a severe warning in order to indicate that if you are sahib nisab, then it is necessary for you to give a wajib Qurbani. For however many people inside the house that are sahib nisab, for each and every single individual. So for example, 2 people inside the house are sahib nisab. Now 2 people have to give 1 share, or a goat or a sheep, for example. So one individually, okay? So if there's 2 people, then there's going to be 2 shares, okay? There has to be 2 goats or 2 sheep, or 1 goat and 1 sheep, or 2 shares of a cow, okay, of a large animal. If, for example, 4 people that are under the same roof, they have 4 people that are sahib nisab, then it will become necessary that 4 people have to give the Qurbani separately. Okay, 4 people have to give Qurbani separately, so 4 sheep or 4 goat or 4 shares of a large animal. Khair, inshallah. Then we go on to, if a sahib nisab becomes poor, if a sahib nisab becomes poor, then before the time ends. So for example, we've got the 10th and 12th and 10, 11 and 12th. So before the 12th finishes, his bank balance becomes minus 1,000 pounds. So what happens? Qurbani falls off. Okay, he didn't give a Qurbani yet, but just before the Qurbani days finish, he becomes poor. On the 12th, for example, before sunset, he is minus 1,000 pounds and he has no other savings and he has no other assets. So in that case, a person, his Qurbani will completely fall off. He doesn't need to give a Qurbani anymore. Okay, giving a Qurbani, meaning giving a sacrifice. Here, this is referring to a sacrifice. Giving a Qurbani for an ill person to become good again, this is completely fine. This is completely jaiz. This is completely permissible in our Sharia, that a person who's sick, he gives an animal, for example, in Bangladesh or whichever country they come from, in Africa, they give an animal for sacrifice in order for the sick person to become well again. This is completely jaiz and this is completely valid. But it is better to give a live animal to poor people. If sadaqatul fitr is wajib, then Qurbani is also wajib upon a person. Sadaqatul fitr is wajib upon the person who has sahib nisab. Any person that has sahib nisab, it is necessary for him to give sadaqatul fitr. Likewise, it is also necessary for him to give Qurbani as wajib. Qurbani will not be fulfilled by giving sadaqah. This is another important point, okay? Qurbani is specifically for a couple of days, those 3 days of 10th, 11th and 12th. A person, if he doesn't fulfill the Qurbani that is wajib upon him, him giving money in return will not compensate for the sin that he is accumulating, because he is not doing a wajib. He is not fulfilling a wajib. So therefore, giving sadaqah to the poor is not enough, is not sufficient, He has to give a Qurbani at that period of time of 10th, 11th and 12th. Now, he goes on to the next mas'ala, where what is considered actual necessity. Actual necessity is, for example, your food, your drink, your clothing and your shelter. The basic necessities of a person. These things are excused. These things are excused from a person who's sahib nisab. If a person is not sahib nisab, but he has what you call, for example, he's got a nice Mercedes car, he's got 50 to 60, 70 inch TV screen inside his home. Not saying that this is permissible, but just to say that the person has more and over and above the assets of a normal person. So this person, even though he is not sahib nisab, it is still wajib upon him to give Qurbani due to the over and above necessities that he has in his household, in his assets as well. He also mentions here on page 109 that for a student of deen who is not sahib nisab, it is better for him to purchase books of deen in order for him to learn and to educate himself and to go on, because this is his duty. This is better than him giving a nafal Qurbani, because Qurbani is not wajib upon a person who is not sahib nisab. Okay, then we go on to, here he mentions that it is makruh tahriman, meaning haram, okay? The meaning haram for a person to have the private parts of a Qurbani animal. Qurbani animal, we know there's 7 parts of the animal. Even in a halal animal, it is absolutely prohibited to eat, okay? And the private parts come under this. Then he mentions here, in partnership on a big animal. In partnership on a big animal, for example, 7 people shared inside a big, large animal. In that case, either the intention has to be wajib Qurbani, nafal Qurbani or aqiqah. Those are the only 3 intentions that will be valid. Other than these 3 intentions, it will be problematic. Okay, the rest of the 7 people's Qurbani, the rest of the 6 people's Qurbani will not be valid otherwise. Okay, it can only be these people that are giving the shares inside a large animal, all of their intention must be similar in the sense that it must be for Qurbani, Wajib Qurbani, Nafal Qurbani, or Aqiqah. These are the only exceptions. Then we go on to, inshallah, I'm trying to go through as fast as I can here. Age and teeth. Age is what is necessary. Age is what is necessary, as we said, 1 year for a goat, 1 year for a sheep, 1 year, 2 year for a cow, bull, or ox, and then 5 year for a camel. Minimum age has to be met. If that is not met, the easy way back in the days, nowadays, alhamdulillah, our situation is different. We live in UK. Each and every single animal is numbered. Each and every single animal is numbered. You know exactly when it was born. You know exactly when it died. Okay? So, unfortunately, many other poor countries, they don't have that situation. Now, in this case, where you don't know if this sheep has reached 1 year old, the ulama, they came up with a plan. They said, look, the easiest way to know is the baby teeth of a sheep or a goat falls off within 12 months. And then after the 12 months, normally two teeth grow on in the here, yeah, in front. Now these two teeth are the permanent teeth. The moment these two teeth are grown, it is fit for Qurbani. So this is what the muftis give the fatwa upon. Okay, that way in the poorer countries that you don't know when the moment the permanent teeth come out, the two front teeth of of a sheep or a goat, then automatically you know it is fit for Qurbani. Qurbani is also wajib upon women. We said this. Any woman who is mature, meaning over the age of baligh, or over the age of puberty, resident, she has sahib and nisab, she is a person of understanding, then she's not insane, in all those things are met, then she has to give her own Qurbani. Slaughtering by women, this is another mas'ala that pops up. If a woman were to slaughter a Qurbani, it is completely permissible. There's no dislikeness in that. Okay, there's no dislikeness as long as she can do it the proper way and all the veins are cut, then alhamdulillah, there's no problem. Faulty animals. Now, faulty animals, at the time of slaughtering, we spoke about this. At the time of slaughtering, if there's any fault that occurred, for example, the sheep or the cow's eye got popped out, the knife went onto the eye, then it's completely fine. The animal is still completely fine because it happened at the time of slaughter. If it happened before the time of slaughter, then this animal will become deficient. You will have to purchase another animal, and that animal will have to be given for Qurbani. If, for example, a leg broke, okay, then at the time of slaughtering, if that happened, then it's completely fine. That animal can still be given for Qurbani. It is completely fine and permissible to give that animal as Qurbani. Okay, a poor person, if he purchased an animal and that animal became faulty, he can still give that animal for Qurbani. Poor person. This is a condition that if it's a poor person, he can give that animal for Qurbani. A rich person, we said he has to replace it. He has to replace it if that happens before slaughtering. If the damage occurs before slaughtering. So, for example, the horns broke right until the meat of the animal can be seen from inside of the head. The brain is exposed. Then in that case, the animal is deficient. The animal is faulty. So if the animal is faulty, that animal cannot be given. Or for example, the leg broke, that animal cannot be given. But at this time of slaughtering, if that happens, we clearly said it is completely jaiz, completely permitted to give that animal. Now, the poor person, if he now, because of faultiness, he thought he has to give another one, he went and bought another one. Now he's making compulsory upon himself 2 animals now. One is the animal that became faulty, and another one is the animal that he's gone and bought the second time. Because from the beginning, his ruling is that it is mustahab only. It is only recommended for him to give. It wasn't wajib for him because he's not sahib nisab. He doesn't have the nisab amount of zakat. If he doesn't have the nisab amount of zakat, then originally his hukum is that he doesn't need to give Qurbani. But he made it compulsory the moment he bought a Qurbani. Now it became deficient, horn fell off, leg broke, whatever happened. Now he has to give this animal, and then he went and bought again. Now he has to give the second animal as well, both. He caused the problem on himself. He caused 2 on himself. But anyway, for a rich person, if it became defective, then automatically he only gives 1. The defective one he leaves, and he goes and buys the one that is not defective, and he gives that for Qurbani. This is completely allowed for the rich person, for the person who is sahib nisab. Khair, inshallah, we'll end here. Our time is very short. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.